Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to design two full arches, and on this one I am going to try to use a very special library, the one I've designed previously, and I want to try it on a full arch setup. We have this pre-op to follow, so as always we start by setting up the custom views. So this will be the front one, a bit further away. I also like to have a more close-up. Let's try to use the same vertical line. It's exactly in the same horizontal line and vertical line. Now I also like to set up occlusal view, and usually I like to use the same vertical line as I used for the midline. I'll set up the custom views for the lower later on, but for now we have the upper one. So the library that I want to try today is the custom library that I've designed previously, is this one. You can download it for free. I'll leave a link in the description. And so let's do it. I'll move all simultaneously just for me to see them, and I'll be on expert mode just to position the uppers first. For now it's all messed up. Probably it's easier to use the chain mode. So the molar is here. Just want to make it like that. Now I place it there, I lock it. I need to look behind it. Okay, now I need to lock the laterals. Okay, much better. Just need to make it more or less the right position. Basically I'm going to set up all this side first, and then I'll just do the copy symmetry to the other side. I'll use the pre-op as a reference to position the teeth and to follow the incisor length to be the same as the pre-op. I also need to check about the tooth length, so the position of the neck of the tooth to be more or less the same. Basically we want to have the necks more or less in the same position as the pre-op. I'll set up another custom view of the occlusal, but a closer one. I think this is the most important step when doing a setup for full arches. Just try to spend the time positioning them like in the proper position. Make sure that the teeth are vertical. Sometimes I see some setups in which the teeth are like all pointing forward. So we need to be careful with that, because sometimes it might look nice seeing from the front, but then you need to look from the sides to see if the axis it's in the right position. Before I copy to the other side, I think it's important to to freeform it a bit if you want to add little corners, like for example, you see that this central is a bit wider than the one I have, so I can come here and change it to fill in a better the shape of the previous central. And one thing I'm gonna do now is smoothing out the roots a bit backwards, a bit to the back, because they are quite squarey on the top, and then if I don't do it now before I copy them, I would have to do it later on all of them, so it's easier just to do it now. Go back to the tooth placement stage. Okay, so this side is looking good now, and we're gonna do, basically I'm gonna mirror all of this side to that side, and let's see what happens. So I go to chain mode. So if you notice, they moved a bit, so I'll untick all these boxes. I go back to simple mode, I click undo until they go back to the previous position, and now go back to chain mode, and now you're gonna do, as you can see, it says overall symmetry right to left. So if I were to do this one, the lower part of the button is just the front teeth, this one is all of it. And if you notice, the midline is canted to one side, and because of that you're gonna have them going upwards on the left side. So let's do it. It looks a bit weird now, but the solution for this is you go OK, and now you select only this side, go tooth placement and move all simultaneously, and just play around a bit till it looks more or less in the same position as the other side, something like this. But now the important part is to follow the pre-op, so I would place it almost there, like more or less, and now I'll just go individually and I place them in the right position. If you want to have this library, you can download it for free. I'll leave a link in the comment section or in the description, and feel free to use it and give me feedback on it. Tell me if you like it or where else could be improved in the library. I'm planning to do more libraries in the future, but for now this is the only one I've done. I basically took the generic library and improved it, because I don't really like the generic library, as you guys know. So it's always important to check the setup without the pre-op. So what I find in the pre-op is that this cannon is lower than that one, and probably we can sort that out, but because we don't have the images of the smile, we shouldn't do too many changes. Probably just adjust it a bit here. Whenever I check one quadrant to the other, I count how many squares from the main line of the horizontal plane, how many squares up is, for example, the first premolar, and then I see that this one, for example, is 2 squares up, this one is almost 3, so 2.5. And usually I try to do them symmetrical, but because we need to follow this pre-op roughly, we shouldn't change it too much. Now that I'm happy with the uppers, let's do the lowers. I'll select them all, tooth placement, bring up the pre-op, which now is not as important because we're gonna use the upper as a reference to place the lowers. So let's go to chain mode, unlock the posteriors, bring it up. So let's start with the molar. This cusp needs to occlude in this groove, let's just say, and this cusp should be pointing towards the embrasure of these two teeth, something like this. Now once you have the first molar done, you lock it. Probably it's easier if I lock it completely. And let's do the same on this side. Let me just change the position of this one. It's gonna look nicer if it goes up to follow the speed curve. It's always important to have the setup of the uppers perfect, so we can set up the lowers properly. Here is the same. We need to have this cusp occluding there, and this one pointing in between the uppers, so the embrasure of the uppers. Now we lock this one, do the same with the premolars. You always might need to change a bit, bigger this one. So now, for now, I'll position them roughly. The lowers, first we need to make the midline exactly aligned with the upper one. It's also important to check where was positioned the lower, so we don't want to misplace it too much. Okay, I like to use the lower as a reference to see how long the centrals, the incisors should look like. Okay, I think it's something like this. So I'll do basically the same I've done on the uppers. I'll be setting up the lowers, resizing them, reshaping them if necessary, and then I'll just copy one side to the other, which will save us a bunch of time. Okay, now I'm just gonna, I'll bring up these ones and I'll use the freeforming. Check if it's following more or less the same corridor as the pre-op. So first I like to smooth out the roots. So now I want to sort out the occlusion. I want to pull things around like a bit more here. Just gonna adjust it slightly, because in the end I'm gonna cut intersections, but I just want for the occlusion to be almost there. Now it's time to mirror everything to the other side. So chain mode, and tick, simple, and do, until it goes back to the position, chain, and symmetry, like this. Now we select this side, tooth placement, move all simultaneously and bring them together. Now we move them individually. Now I just need to close a bit better this cap. now that I'm happy with the setup, we're gonna move to the gingiva designing, and before that we're just gonna adjust the contacts and probably close some of the proximal contacts as well. So now I'll adapt the proximal contacts, and later on when we do the gingiva I'll close a bit better the black triangles if we have some. I'll also adapt the occlusion. I'll adapt first the uppers using a negative value, so I can reduce half on the uppers and half on the lowers. It's looking nice. Okay. So now we go back to wizard, go next, and we're gonna design the bottom part of the gingiva. Whenever I do the bottom part, I'll just bring up the abutments just to see where they are positioned. Now at this stage you can correct a bit some of the points if you want. Then click apply. Do the same, bring up the abutments. So for now it's gonna be like this. Now I'll have to smooth this part it's going in. Now at this stage it's really important to bring up the papilla into position. To close the black triangles. You don't need to close all the way to the contact, because we can always add on the teeth to close better the embrasure. Here in this area I want to make it as little bulk as possible. Probably after everything is merged I'll bring the molar a bit even more outside. Now let's cover the abutments. So I want to remove a bit of that. I just untick this one because it's keeping the gingiva stuck in the base. Now I just smooth it. I think it's important to spend time at this stage to make, well, you can design the gingiva without touching the teeth, and it's always important to keep the necks more or less at the same height, especially on the posteriors. Well, it should be even across the full arch. If you like this type of content, don't forget to like and subscribe. And also, if you want to check my ceramic work, follow me on Instagram. I'll have to close some of the embrasures here using the teeth. I want to make a realistic gingiva today, so let's do this. I'll just bulk up a bit the pupilla because it needs a bit more bulkiness. Usually I like to start by doing the division between the free gingiva. There is like a part, this part is like smoother. Now of course this is too much, so we're gonna smooth this, but not as much, just slightly. We're gonna create the root separation. And now of course we need to smooth it. Usually the root of the lateral is a bit shorter. The bump is a bit lower than the centrals and the canines. I'm not sure if you've noticed before, but usually there is like a bone structure that goes horizontal after the canine, so it's like a, I would say it's like a bone board, almost like a horizontal line, and I think it creates a very natural look to the buccal corridor. Now if you want to do some texture, you can use the thin tool and just drag it around. you can have some areas which are a bit smoother, because I find that usually the parts that have the most stippling are like in between the teeth. Actually, this part of the root is a bit smoother. This was too far forward outside, so always be careful with the contour of the gingiva. Sometimes it might be too exaggerated. Now you can use this tool to see if the necks are at the same length. And now let's do the frenum. It's looking nice, the frenum, wavy. So now I can do the lowers. Basically I'm gonna do the same, but in the lowers. Need to close this cap. Usually in the lowers you can see, especially when you have a lot of space, you can see the roots finishing at a certain area, and it's very pronounced like this. The canines as well, and then it smooths out to the posterior part. Now we're gonna smooth a bit everything. Yeah, like this. Now I'm just gonna do some stippling. As we did on the upper one, we're just gonna smooth some of the rooted areas. And this part, it's smoother as well. It's looking really nice. Now we can also do a frenum on the bottom part, but usually it's much shorter. Now never forget to put them more inside, because otherwise it's gonna be too noticeable and too annoying for the patients. I'm happy with the gingiva now. I'm just need to close a bit more some of the embrasures, just to make sure we don't have any black triangles or holes. Now I'm just gonna merge everything. We can still do some adjustments. So you see, because we closed everything, we don't have any like small triangles appearing there. Now for final touches, I should smooth this part here. Just want to put this part in a bit more, because it's invading a bit too much the space of the tongue. Tiny bit. So this is a tool that I want to explain better in future videos, but it's a very helpful tool. So usually in the back I like to smooth everything. You don't need too much detail on the palatal, and if this is a zirconia and you have too much detail, it might be you're gonna create some weakness points in the zirconia just by having deep grooves on the palatal. There is no need for that. So these are trines, that's why I keep no pressure on the intanglio surface, but if this was like the final, I would make pressure like evenly across the soft tissue, and I'll make it flat without bumpiness like you see here. But you know, I can do a video in the future about this part, and in previous videos I've done this part in other smaller bridges, but the concept is the same. So I'll do something similar to this, make it flat and evenly distribute the pressure. And if this is like a full arch in zirconia, I'll be polishing all this area until it's super shiny. Okay, so after the final touches, just go forward to calculate the screw channels. Just keep them as they are. And it's done. Comment down below if you like this video and if you like the design, and comment if you agree with the morphology and all the aspects that I talked about. If you want to watch how I made this library, watch this video, and if you want to learn more about Exocad and more tips and tricks, watch this playlist. Thank you.